One of the things that you see coming out of people who are struggling with uncertainty is anxiety. And so you see sort of typical trends in business and workplaces, things like micromanaging, trying to take control of more stuff, double checking things. So double checking things like the work, but also double checking people.
The question is from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Richard from Thinking Focus.
Hi, I'm Paul from Thinking Focus.
And today the question is, what is all this uncertainty doing to my team?
The question is from Thinking Focus, a podcast about how we sometimes get in our own way and what we can do about it.
Oh, good question.
Yeah, good question. Very uncertain times that we're in at the moment, Paul.
It does feel like it.
Yeah, it does feel like it. And you know what? This is off the charts, though, this uncertainty. This is perhaps not like anything we've seen before. What does that mean for us?
No, well, all change creates uncertainty, but I don't think any of us in our lifetime have been through this much change or probably ever will go through this much change. It feels like everything is changing all of the time. The way we work, where we work, how we work, everything all of the time. And I think that has a big impact on a lot of people. Now, there's some individual difference here. Some of us are more happy and comfortable with uncertainty than others. Yeah. But none of us, I think, are genuinely comfortable with the level of uncertainty that we're seeing right now, where everything we know, everything we understand, everything we feel just feels like it's up for grabs.
Yeah, because I guess maybe at different times of our lives, there might be uncertainty at work or uncertainty at home or uncertainty economically or politically or something like that. But at the moment, it's in all those spheres, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there's 5 big areas I talk about a lot when I talk about resilience, which are money, family, health, work, and personal relationships. And you think about, for most people, there is a level of uncertainty in at least 3, if not all 5 of those areas.
Yeah.
And I can't think of a time when I've ever been through something. You know, even if you're kind of moving house and your job's up in the air and you're not feeling great, you know, the relationships around you maybe hold you together. Right now, we're worried about our friends and family. We're not seeing people we know on a regular basis. Jobs have become very insecure. We don't quite know how they're going to work, if my job is still going to be real. Just everything is up in the air.
So why do we need certainty and meaning in life?
Well, I think what's really interesting here is it's not that we need certainty, it's that we need to believe we have certainty.
So we need a feeling of certainty.
Yeah, and this is all about the feeling. It's not about the reality. Think about this evolutionary. Your brain, the bit between your ears, I'm saying that just so you know where yours is.
Yeah, thanks.
That part of it. Is not designed for modern living. It's not designed for meetings and sales calls and conference calls and video conferencing. Yeah. It's designed for how we were maybe 1,000 years ago. It's designed to live in small communities, live in what we call savanna-like environments, so a little bit of greenery, a little bit of cover, but not too dangerous where things can jump out and surprise you. And having a feeling of certainty at that point, having a level of control where you kind of go, look, I know what I need to do today, and I know what I need to do tomorrow, and I know what the purpose is, and I have a meaning. I'm looking after my family. I'm building my hut. I'm getting enough to eat. All of those were really good survival skills. The people who were great at that, the people who could create certainty, knew what to do, have good plans, chances are they were the people who ended up being our ancestors. And the people who were rubbish at it, they ended up being food.
Yeah. So that must still play a role today, though, even though we've evolved. But some of us must be better at this than others.
Yeah, and I think the dealing with uncertainty comes from a couple of things. There's an individual difference. How much am I willing to deal with? How easygoing am I going to be? How controlling do I need to be? And some of us are going to want the world to be incredibly black and white. Some of us a little bit less.
Yeah.
On the other hand, there's also some cultural impact. So different cultures around the world have a concept of how much uncertainty they're happy to deal with.
So how good are we then? Well, it's okay when you say cultures, you mean sort of national cultures.
Yeah.
So how good are we in the UK then at dealing with this unprecedented level of uncertainty?
Well, what's really interesting, I think, for me in the UK, we're, according to Hofstede, who's one of the big researchers in cultural differences, the UK is quite good with uncertainty. We quite like a level of uncertainty. We're pretty easygoing as a culture. There's a brilliant bit in one of the Hofstede pieces of research where he talks about the UK, and it's a little bit like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and Mostly Harmless. He said about the UK that we don't like rules, and we're pretty relaxed about rules, but where there are rules, we do expect people to follow them. And the one they quote is queuing.
Like queuing. I was just going to say like queuing up.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing then, if we're quite comfortable with the level of uncertainty, there's some cultures perhaps, maybe in the Far East that come to mind, where rules are really, really important.
Yeah, and it's not that rules are really important for rules' sake. It's that rules are really important because they help us understand what's going to happen and what we need to do. And it's not just the Far East. There's been a lot of comparisons recently between what's going on in the UK and, say, Germany. Now, Germany has a much higher uncertainty avoidance.
Yeah.
And so people are more happy to accept rules and more happy to have rules in place to tell them what they can and can't do than we would be in the UK. Yeah. And that's why lockdown, I think, hits us so hard, because it puts on a load of rules and creates a level of uncertainty, but a load of rules and things that we can't do at the same time. So it's by trying to give us some certainty back, it's then restricting freedoms, and we tend to fight all that. So it creates a weird feeling in its own right of lack of meaning and who am I and what's my identity.
So therefore then, it's not a massive leap to see that actually high levels of uncertainty are going to create anxiety for me.
They do, yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that you see coming out of people, particularly people who are struggling with uncertainty, is anxiety. And so you see sort of typical trends in business and workplaces, things like micromanaging, trying to take control of more stuff, double checking things. So double checking things like the work. Do you understand it? Have I done it right? Let me reread this thing. But also double checking people. People who are struggling with uncertainty will start checking in with people. Have you done this? Have you done that? And if you've ever had that done to you, that kind of feels a bit weird, because you're like, well, of course I have. Why are you checking in again? But it could be the other way. It could be procrastination or reassurance seeking, where you're going out and saying, is this okay? Is this right? And all of those factors eventually lead to high levels of anxiety. And it's what's worth thinking about is anxiety at its root is just a type of fear, but it's a fear that you can't put your finger on. So imagine this scenario. Imagine you're walking down the street and somebody's got a big scary dog, and as you walk past, the chain goes really tight, the dog's yapping away at you. Yeah. Of course you're going to feel scared. You're going to have that moment of adrenaline rush through your body.
Yeah.
But there's a dog, and the dog's the issue.
So you know what it is.
Yeah. And if I move away from it, I can solve the issue. Yeah. Anxiety is a fear you can't put your finger on. There is no dog. There is no thing you can pinpoint and go, that's the problem here. So how do you move away from it?
But I guess you can see that through those things you talked about, micromanaging, double checking, I think you said, procrastinating. What was the last one? Was it
seeking reassurance?
Seeking reassurance.
You're just checking in now, aren't you? Just to make sure you've got it right.
Yeah, but what I'm thinking is that actually you can see that someone that's micromanaging, for example, is perhaps trying to deal with some uncertainty and anxiety they've got about something. That's why they're doing it.
Yes, they're trying to create control without knowing what it is they're trying to control. And so the sort of net effect of micromanaging and why it really annoys the person on the receiving end is that they feel like they're being controlled, and therefore actually in turn, what you're doing when you micromanage is removing control from somebody else. Yeah. So you're creating certainty for you by creating more uncertainty for them.
Also quite damaging as well from a point of view of trying to help people grow and develop. If you take away choice and control and autonomy, that's quite damaging for them from that point of view as well.
And so you can see there is a real issue right now, really high levels of uncertainty. The world has kind of gone crazy. If I'm a manager and I'm looking at my people and I'm feeling all this anxiety, I'm feeling all this uncertainty, and I start micromanaging, checking in with people, then checking in again, I start procrastinating on decisions that they need from me, or I'm checking things and I'm phoning people up and going, I'm thinking of this, what do you think? And we all do that a bit. That's inevitable. I mean, I even talking about this can think of occasions where I've done this over the last few weeks. But if you're just doing it all of the time, actually that's damaging the relationships. That's putting pressure onto the rest of the team, which means you're raising their levels of anxiety. And then you're in this weird kind of downward spiral, which ends with trust and relationships being degraded.
Yeah.
And that's not where you want to be.
So how do we deal with this then? If that's where this can lead to, we've got to then sort of say, well, okay, so what can we do to deal with this feeling of uncertainty that we've got to avoid doing some of those things you've just described?
Okay. So number one, I call conscious awareness. And what do I mean by that? I mean just becoming aware that it's the uncertainty of the environment that's making you feel the way you feel. Yeah. It's not something that's happened or the people around you. It's just uncertainty, and that's creating anxiety, and you're worrying about something you can't put your finger on.
So does becoming consciously aware often lead people to then try and take control of things in a much shorter timescale, or have much shorter goals, or that kind of thing?
Yeah, so the things that they can do are taking control of the things that are controllable. So the two things that you see in that, and it's kind of two levers that you play with. One is bringing timescales back. Because if you think about it at the moment, if I said to you, do you know what you need to do in the next 24 hours? Chances are you're going to say yes.
Yeah.
48 hours, maybe. Week, possibly. If I said to you, do you know what the world is going to look like and what you therefore need to do in the next 6 months? Right now, most of us are going to say
would struggle. Would struggle, yeah.
Because actually in the next 6 months, we're going to go through a number of changes as lockdown changes and reactions to the virus changes.
There's too many answers you don't know. There's too many questions you don't even know.
Yeah.
So,
And the fact is, even if you could build up a level of certainty, there would be an announcement next week or something would happen next week. Yeah, and everything you knew would change. So bring those timescales right down. And then you need to increase control. But the important thing here is increase the things you can control, not take control from other people while you're doing it. So part of increasing control, if you're a manager, is to give some of that control to other people. Give people choices and enable them to take control of the things they can control. The more we can control, the more we perceive we can control, the more certain we feel, the less anxious we feel.
Before we wind this up, Paul, and sort of come to a conclusion, we've talked about a lot of things there.
Yeah.
Is there sort of one thing that you would say, or two things that you would say, that for someone that is really struggling with all this uncertainty and what it's doing to their team, if there were just one or two things that someone could go and focus on, what might they be?
I think I'm going to start with the conscious awareness thing again. I think the first thing you need to do with the team is become consciously aware that the way you feel, the stresses that you feel, the uncomfortableness that you feel, the anxiety that you feel, is because you're living through a level of anxiety we were never designed to work in. Yeah. And that's going to cause you to have different conversations and be more open and talk to the team and almost kind of explain that some of the behavior you've got at the moment is not you suddenly becoming a bit of a weird manager, but you just not quite feeling comfortable with the situation.
Yeah, okay.
So that's the first step. The second step for me is then to go, what do you really have control of? So where do you have a level of control? Where do you have a level of choices, regardless of all the unanswerable questions, regardless of the change that you might be going through or the change that might happen next? Where can you go, but these things are within my control, or more importantly as a team, within our control, and take control of those. But don't take control on behalf of other people. Help them take control on behalf of themselves.
Yeah, okay.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And I suppose as well, within taking control, it's also learning what I can't affect, what I can't do anything about, and relaxing about that.
Yeah, and so that's kind of a really interesting, and I'm going to nick that and put it as my third point. So take control of what you can take control of, but let go of what you can't.
Yeah.
You know, the route back to normal from where we are today, right now, Could be days. It could. I doubt it, but it could be.
Yeah.
It's probably going to be months, but it may be years. And none of us have huge amounts of control over that. Most of the things that need to happen are outside of our control. But that doesn't mean we can't move forward or succeed or progress on the things we want to progress on. But if we're focused on those big things that we can't control, then we'll have really high anxiety and probably very low performance. So focus on the areas of your life, whether that work or personal, that you can take control of and give yourself a sense of certainty in at least some parts of your life.
Paul, fascinating. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll see you again next time. Thank you.
Next time on The Question Is.
There is a sense of achievement. It feels quite good. It feels quite comfortable. You've created some momentum. You're moving the situation on, which can very quickly turn into, hang on, I'm doing everything. Then to well, if I'm running this place, who's growing the place?
Thinking Focus works with teams and business units in organizations around the world, helping them achieve breakthroughs by enabling them to think differently. To find out more about our work and how we could help your organization, go to www.thinkingfocus.com.